In the last video, I mentioned that my tuner pedal was acting up, and as a result, I'd more than likely do a teardown/attempt at repair in a future video. And now you're watching that video. I've done a few pedal teardown videos on various types of effects, but never a tuner. In fact, I've never opened a tuner before. No one really talks about, or really thinks about, for that matter, tuners. They seem kind of boring. But of all the things that you could have in your signal chain, it is undoubtedly the most useful. Sure, you can tune by ear, and it's a skill you should try to develop, but ears can lie, and tuners don't. Hopefully. The problem with my tuner is that the red LED that lets me know when a string is in tune is very dim, and it didn't used to be. So I'm hoping I can see something physically wrong with the tuner after opening it up, and along the way, we can see what makes a tuner a tune. The first IC that is visible on the signal board is a BA10358 op amp, which has a wire running from the output pin to the second PCB in the pedal. Continuing on our pedal spelunking journey, the second PCB is where the LEDs are, including a fun single 7-segment digit with a sharp sign. On the back is an IC that was tricky to track down because it is actually a CMOS 8-bit microcontroller that seems to have gone out of fashion. It's the Hynix 81C1408B. Very catchy. And this makes sense because a tuner is more software than hardware when you think about it. Despite that though, this tuner does have a hardware problem, that single red LED. First, I took a multimeter to it and got it to light up and rang out the board a bit to get familiar with the neighborhood. Then I hooked up the pedal guts to a 9-volt battery and plugged in my guitar, since this is one of those pedals that needs the cables plugged in to complete the power on circuit. After playing some notes, I realized that the red LED was working, and I began to question my grip on reality. Had I imagined the dimness? Had the enclosure, or some ancient dirt from basement practice rooms and disgusting sticky venues with wires hanging from the ceiling, somehow shorted the LED? Perplexed, I closed back up the pedal but superstitiously left the back off and dragged my power supply across the room, further throwing my apartment into chaos to see if maybe it was working because I'd used a battery. But no. The LED functioned. It was fully bright. I went back over to my amp to plug the pedal back in and get a final shot and saw that the LED was back to being dim. I grew concerned that maybe there was a problem with the outlet and other outlandish thoughts, so I disassembled the pedal again, this time on my piano bench rather than the electronics bench, and found that the LED was now not lighting up at all. I pulled out a Metro with gator clips to power up the LED on its own, and it lit up, fully and brightly, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, until it didn't. Did the Metro kill the LED star? Did it simply have a final rush of adrenaline in life like a human does before the soul exits? I just don't know, but I was glad it was finally at peace, giving me a definitive answer and direction. Now it needed a new LED. I shorted the LED's leads with a soldering iron to reflow it and pulled it out from the board. But it always gets worse before it gets better, and the 4-wire cable bundle that connects the two PCBs cracked away from the solder points and crumbling hot glue strain relief. I resoldered those wires, and then I dead bug soldered, wow, a lot of death in this video, I'm sorry, a large LED to test the board, making sure that it was, in fact, just the LED having problems. And it did, in fact, appear to just need a new LED. For a final fix, though, I needed a 3mm LED. So I decided to use a 3mm pink LED I had hanging around, because, of course. First, I tested it by holding it against the board, a very advanced technique, to make sure that it would get enough voltage, since the circuit had originally used a red LED, and red LEDs require less voltage than other colors. I placed the pink LED into the spacer, soldered it into place, and finally, success. The light lights up when the guitar is in tune, after a roller coaster teardown and testing process. The LED sits a little proud compared to the flat and sharp blues, but it still fits nicely in the front plate. Maybe I'll swap the red 5mm power indicator LED to a pink LED to match, but until then, I'm glad to have a visually functional tuner again. To stand on a corny soapbox for a moment, it felt so great and empowering to be able to diagnose and repair the pedal rather than say, too bad, so sad, I guess it's time for a new tuner. But that's it for this video. I'll have links to the 2 data sheets for the op amp and microcontroller in the description. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this has been Blitz City DIY.